So, welcome back. This is Bryon with the Trial and Error Podcast. Fearless is going to be joining us here. This week, I wanted to take a little bit of a breather and talk about why everything's so serious right now. Um, you know, Initially, I was going to call it why it's so serious, but um, that doesn't necessarily mean anything good if you know the context of what that's about. But I guess the thing I need to talk about is, and this episode isn't just you need to be more happy, you need to find the joy and all this other stuff. Um, People are dealing with real stuff out here. Economies, the economy is doing what the economy does. Um, I don't necessarily feel like the leadership that we're getting the leadership we're getting is really meeting any of the moments that we're involved in. We have a war that they just kind of disclosed the actual casualty and injury, and it's not anywhere close. Like they've been kind of hiding it, and I suspect we're probably going to find out more. So there's a lot of heaviness in the world right now. Um, my wife and I were kind of commenting on watching the news last night, and there's a lot going around. You got the explosive diarrhea parasite that's going around. You got this, that, and the third. And so this episode is not just to tell people you just be happy and just smile through it. That's not the point. Um, People got money pressure, they got job instability, there's family stress, all the political chaos, burnout, health problems, uncertainty about the future. And the question is not why can't people just lighten up? The better question is why does everything feel like it has to be so serious all the time, where there's never any reprieve from it? And I think it's more of an internal question. Um, as we start moving through, it's more of an internalized question. Why does everything have to be so serious all the time? Where is the ability to put down some of this mental baggage that we're carrying around and just be free of it for an hour or a day or a weekend or whatever? Um, I feel like what's happening is this is kind of being plugged in 24/7, 7 days a week. Bad news, it used to be if bad news wanted to hit you, it had to travel through a couple of different channels. If you're out and about, you had to have actually somebody tell you it, or you had to have a television on, you had to be listening to the radio or something. And then the bad news kind of found you, but you could opt out by not listening to the television or not listening to the radio and things along those lines. And now you basically your phone is a main line for every horrible thing that's happening in the world. Hi, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. And so we all carry around these devices, and these things are a main line um into us. It gives us direct access to us at all times. And um for a long time back when I was growing up, we thought that this level of connectivity was like it'll be a great thing. Always being connected, you can access whatever information you want at any time, and all this other stuff. And I think now we're really starting to see the negative impacts of constantly being connected um, to the internet and to news outlets and things like that. If you watch like CNN or any one of these news channels that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they aren't even like they have that scroll across the bottom of the screen. That's not even really news. That's not information that you can use to benefit you in any way, shape, or form. It's just clips of thoughts. And they just run those across bottom of the screen all the time. And it's almost this weird hypervigilance that you get when you watch it because you're like, oh wait, this thing is going on. I wasn't even aware of this thing. And it's not enough. They don't give you enough information to actually be informed about the thing that's happening. They just give you I don't even want to say it's a headline. Like they just give you a seed of an idea. And I think this does kind of lean into the fact that we're always connected. And that's almost the expectation now. Like I don't know if any of you have a job where you were on call, but um that was always the expectation. When you were on call, you were able to pick up the phone. But it feels like right now we have an entire society of people that's always on call for any bad thing that happens on the news or anything. And so it adds a layer of heaviness to just basic survival, where you know that somewhere along the world somewhere in the world something horrible is happening or getting ready to happen, and you're just waiting. Like, we're constantly in this waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of mode. um it does, like I said, it does come with the ongoing persistent reliance on technology and the connectivity of all things. And I'm not here to talk about how horrible technology is. I'm just being straight with y'all. I think a lot of times this air of heaviness that we carry around on a daily basis has everything to do with we're just waiting for the other shoe to fall. We're waiting for the bad news. Like, you're waiting for the bad news to hit you. They actively get you in a mode where it's like, okay, what horrible thing is going to happen? Hey, thanks for tuning in. What's up? So, um, again, it's one of those things where you have so many different pieces of chaos floating around. I don't necessarily, thanks, son. I don't think we're necessarily getting, um, I don't think we're necessarily ever getting any reprieve from it. Um, I feel like even when people go on vacation, the the need to perform your vacation, where you have to take documentation and video of said vacation to show that you were actually on vacation, like, that is becoming kind of the expectation of the social media world we're living in. Hey, I'm subbed and liked. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can keep you engaged here. That's what we're doing. So Fearless is going to be joining us here shortly. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at. Like, we feel like we have to perform 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I almost feel like it's a byproduct of a society where everything is recorded and documented. Um, for those that are under a certain age, you may not understand this. You may not even know this, but there was a time where you could go out and not be recorded, at least to your knowledge, and it wasn't going to get straight to the internet. Like, it wasn't going to get your exploits. You tripping over that crack in the sidewalk was not going to go viral with a bajillion likes. It wasn't going to trend on any social media platform. You would just trip and experience the embarrassment of tripping, and then once you walked away and brushed off your scrapes and everything, you felt fine. Now you walk outside and trip down a set of stairs or trip over that bump in the sidewalk, and you are at risk for this to be broadcast to a billion people simultaneously, instantly. You have no say in the matter. You're Yeah, you have no say in the matter. Like, there's just a dude with the camera ready to upload your most embarrassing moment, and that's how we live. That's kind of how we live every single day. So I hear younger folks talk about it back in the clubbing days. You could go out there and dance and not have to worry about getting recorded and put on the internet because you dance goofy. Now that's an expectation. And so now when people go out, they're very guarded. They monitor themselves because they never know who the person is with the camera looking to get that little viral clout, that little internet clout, that drug of that shot of internet clout. Um, you never know who that person is who's going to be recording it. We had an entire show called Candid Camera, where it was about people people existing with a where people are out doing stuff, and there's skits where somebody has a hidden camera and you get a chance to see how people act in real life. There was an entire show about that. There's America's Funniest Home Videos, where people had a camera and they would record something funny and send it. Now that is just basic life. That's opening social media and finding this guy got kicked in the face, or such and such got knocked out, or this guy fell down a flight of stairs. This person is under the influence of some, they went to the dentist and they had some sedatives in their system and they're saying funny things. It has 150,000 likes within 5 minutes of you posting it. That's what we're up against right now. So I could see where the heaviness comes in, because you feel like you're living in a fishbowl. You're under surveillance 24 hours a day. The piece I don't know, the piece I don't quite understand, is people actually opting in to be part of the fishbowl. Like, people buy Ring cameras and stuff and put them on there. So not only, now you have their surveillance on your door. So now people can see whoever comes to your door and see how you respond to people coming to your door. So there are layers to this where we opt in, but there are lots of it where we're not opting. Like, we opt in, but we're not necessarily given the opportunity to opt out of it. So that's where we are. All right. Um, and so everything is a performance. Like when the entire world is staged, everything's a performance. And I think that layers into the heaviness of what's going on. Um, we should not pretend that people are being dramatic. We're seeing a lot of people that get super depressed based on what's going on. My father-in-law did struggle with that aspect of it. Um, watching the news and getting bummed out behind the news. And eventually it's like, you got to turn this news off. You can't keep mainlining this all on a daily basis because all it's doing is showing you the worst sides of everything. What's up, Fearless?
Hey, what's going on, champ?
The entire he would sit there and watch the news and it would bum him out all the time. And it's tell him like, man, you can't watch this all day long. Because all this is doing is just feeding the worst stuff in humanity straight into your eyeballs on a daily basis. And you're watching, on this channel, you're watching the local news and you're talking about, who got burnt up in a fire, what kids got killed. And then after the news comes on, you're watching murder mystery shows. You're watching all these murder mystery shows about these serial killers and everything. And it gives you this really bleak view of humanity. And um, it makes the world feel artificially heavy when we do actually have a bunch of serious shit going on. Right. But a lot of people are stretched thin. And so basically, Fearless, we're talking about why everything feels so heavy right now. And it's not a dismissal and saying you just need to be happy. It is, yeah, there's serious stuff going on. What do we do about it? And how do you balance life in a world where there is stuff that has real stakes going on?
Hmm.
And so
Yeah, I don't.
And so the threads I picked up on is we're constantly under surveillance. Some of us has opted into it. Sometimes you're just not even aware of it. Talked about tripping over a crack over the street. Used to be, in 98, if you tripped over a crack in the street, you tripped over the crack and the people that were there saw you fall over the crack, and that was it. And it didn't go any further than that. Now you trip over the crack and you going viral on TikTok, you going viral on Instagram. Somebody made funny music to it. They made memes out of it. You're seeing them on Facebook. And so now your little central moment of embarrassment is worldwide for the whole entire world to see. And I do think that plays into it where everything feels urgent. Your most basic going to the store feels like it has a layer of heaviness, but because the last thing you want to do is do something stupid, and go viral for it. Because I've seen people go viral for some stupid stuff. Somebody's having a bad day and they end up crashing out on social media, and all of a sudden you're Karen, and that's trending on social. You're the Karen of the week, and that's trending across social media and everything. And so I do think that the surveillance state we kind of live in, where some of us we're opting into it, is a real thing. So, yeah, people are getting stretched thin. Nervous system kind of shifts into protection mode, right? So, how do you Fearless, from your perspective, how do you manage this where you got all this heavy shit going on and not falling victim and not feeling like, because you got a lot of things moving in your world too.
Mm-hmm.
How do you avoid getting sucked into that feeling like this is just is so doomed and everything negative? How do you avoid that?
I mean, you don't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you don't. So a few days ago, as you know, we're shutting down our bookstore, right?
Mhm.
A few days ago, dead ass, no joke. Um, Somebody came in and basically took everything. Our refrigerator, stuff that I had put on uh, marketplace to sell. Somebody came in and stole all that shit.
Oh no.
Like, wiped me out. And I was just kind of like, huh. There's a bunch of different things I could have did, but the one thing I kept saying to myself was, it wasn't yours before, it ain't yours now.
Right.
You're gonna sell it to somebody else. Somebody basically came in, beat you to it. It's done. Let's get this chapter closed and move on.
Right.
I'm not tripping. I mean, At first, when it happened, I was like, damn, dude, this is crazy. But again, I'm almost out of there.
Right.
And by next week, I'll be completely out. And the place will be clean. I can give over my keys and I'm done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't get on social media and be like, somebody robbed me, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. I didn't say shit. I didn't say nothing. I mean, I cleaned up the mess and went about my business.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, so again, I'm not saying that shit doesn't happen. Shit happens all the time. It's just how you deal with it. And I'm a little bit more. First off, I'm grown.
Right.
So crashing out over stupid shit, man, that's out. I'm not doing all that. I'm not getting online and airing out dirty business. I mean, you know why the why my business is closing.
Hmm.
I never got online and said nothing. Never. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I don't think that that's the way the game should be played. Not at all. You know. So if I even if I succeed, I have a bunch of amazing things happening. I don't say a fucking word to nobody. I mean, I handle it for the people that are around me. They may know,
Hmm.
but everybody else, I mean, again, I'm talking about it right now
Hmm.
because we're having this discussion.
Right.
But if we weren't talking about it, I wouldn't be online talking about this shit. Care less.
I told I think I don't know who I was talking to. Basically said the surest sign that you guys will know that it was this morning actually at my networking group. I said the surest sign that you know that I won the lottery is that you never see me again.
That's it.
Like I would show up
That's
to
it.
get if I had to show up to get my check, I would show up dressed up. I have a full suit on. I would like have my 3-piece suit on and have a mask. I'd be like Rey Mysterio. I'll have my mask on like Rey Mysterio. Collect my check, shake their hand, and be out. You wouldn't hear from me again. You wouldn't know, like, dang, what happened to Bryon? He must have hit the lottery finally. That was it for him. He bought his bat cave off the grid, and that's it. Um, I think there's this level of I talked about it where you have to perform. Like this performance, you got to perform nowadays. You got to perform your vacation. It's not enough for you to go
Right.
on the vacation, but now you got to show you flying in, you landing, making a whole video about it, showing videos of you swimming up to the bar and partying up and posting all that stuff online on social media. And for me, I just rather go experience it. You don't really need to see me out there like that. You
Right.
know, that's one. And then two, I learned a long time ago, don't ever tell nobody when you're out of town. Don't, especially on social media, you don't tell people when you're not going to be in town. They don't need to know that.
No.
So even if you're going to go through all those steps and everything, post your stuff when you get back. Don't tell people when you're leaving. Don't ever tell anybody when you leave in town. Unless you have somebody
Yeah, not at
watching your
all.
house. Unless you have somebody watching your house, they need to know.
Or staying in your house,
Yeah.
not just watching your house, staying in your house.
Don't tell people when you are, when you heading out and all that other stuff. I know a lot of people, they fantasize about the big having nice things and fancy things. I'm always go back to what Vince Staples was talking about. Have you ever seen that interview with Vince Staples and Speedy? Where
I don't know. I like Vince Staples though, but I don't know the
he's sitting
interview.
there and Speedy is basically asking him about having people over his house. He's like, I don't have people over my house. What
Yeah,
you talking
the
about?
people don't know where I live.
He's like,
Yeah,
people don't know where I
yeah, I
live.
watched. I've seen that.
He's like, what if you want to
Yeah,
have a young lady? He's like, and what if y'all break up and now there's 2 or 3 dudes in a Prius waiting outside your spot? He's like, these people don't know where I live. My mom knows, my sister knows, this dude over here knows, and that's it. They don't
that
need to know
part.
where I live. They don't need to know I'm entertaining or anything along those lines. They don't need to know where I'm at. And I think I wonder if that's the piece of heaviness where people feel like they have to perform that. Not only do they live their life, but they have to perform their life on top of it.
Mhm. I mean, I would understand like if that's your job,
Mm-hmm.
to put on this fake persona or whatever, like raps like rappers
Mm-hmm.
back in the day or whatever, like MTV Cribs was that's what their objective was. It's to show this nice, glamorous type of life. And then when you come to find out all these years later, majority of those people, that wasn't even their house.
No.
And the one person who still gets kudos and their flowers is Redman
Hmm.
for showing you exactly where he lived. His house was trash. And people still remember his house. I don't remember Usher's or actually no, there's another person's Moby,
Yeah.
the singer Moby. He said something else, and this was back in the late 90s. He was like, you see people's cars, you see their houses, you see all this stuff. But the one thing I've never seen is a person's library.
Hmm.
And that's always stuck with me. So again, my house is filled with books. So and for me, it's because of that. Because I saw that one that one episode for sure, man. I just been infatuated with books.
I can't. I'm trying to remember if it was Bow Wow or Cisco, whose house it was, where I remember, and this is before we knew that it was all fake. I'm watching it and I'm like, this looks like a house that he done rented out.
Hmm.
Why would he have all these Greek sculptures and all this other stuff in his crib? And he doesn't know where they came from. It's like, yeah, I don't know where this came from. I just have this here. And I'm sitting there watching like, eh, that doesn't seem like his crib. And
Honestly, I don't know because I have so many books that I have no idea what I have.
yeah, but
So I mean, it does happen.
I'm sitting there like, this looks like, I think part of me was like, this looks staged. Like the house even looks staged.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, I don't see, like, there's nothing of his personality, at least from what we're seeing. Of you don't have no platinum records on the wall. You don't have nothing to highlight his career. Nothing. It looks like a rented house. They found a
Hmm.
house, and rented it out and staged it for this episode of MTV Cribs. And but I also think that that's where we started with this surveillance state, because I remember
That's a good point. That's a good idea. Yeah.
I think Pimp My Ride, where we find out all the vehicles are fake on Pimp My Ride. And back in the days, we're sitting there thinking these things are real, and we started ratcheting up the realness of it. Like, I remember the first one was like Big Bro. We had Real World, and then you find out the behind the scenes of Real World, where basically is trap all these people who have all these different mental illnesses in a home, and and feed them nothing but
Right.
alcohol,
Right.
and just roll the camera feed. And the one that where it crystallized to me was they had dude, I think it was the Hollywood one, where dude had like a cocaine habit. Like he had just kicked a cocaine habit like 2 weeks before he got on the show.
Oh wow.
And now they're feeding him alcohol. And the crash out, like he was crashing out all the time. He's doing just goofy stuff. And they had the big house intervention. Man, we're really worried about you. We just want you to be safe. And people don't know you from a can of paint. They don't know who you are. You a stranger to them. But all of a sudden
Right.
they care. They carrying up the stage of intervention with you. But the producers knew dude had a cocaine problem. He had just kicked it 2 weeks before. And so we're going to slap him in this house on the Real World and give him nothing but alcohol with cameras and cut off from the outside world. Um, I feel like that's kind of where it started getting normalized. When we have Big Brother, where it's like, we'll just record people just walking around doing nothing, and that ended up becoming a format. I think
Hmm.
that boom of reality television really did set the stage for the surveillance world we're in, and that's why everything feels so damn important. Like going to the grocery store feels important because I don't want to get recorded falling down, tripping with my groceries out in public. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, though, or whatever. I mean, look at the way people dress when they go to places like Walmart and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, man, wearing sweats, that was something that you did to go get the mail.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, now people wearing muumuus and uh, all kinds of shit. You know what I'm saying? Just to go to the grocery store. because nobody gives a shit on one hand.
Yeah.
But then, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying you are going to be recorded,
Right.
whether you want to be or not. So, like, yeah,
Like
it's just one of those things, man.
yesterday, Monday is typically my work from home day and get caught up on stuff. And I had a couple of projects, but I had to leave the house for a board meeting. And I'm like, what am I going to wear to the board meeting? I'm like, okay, I went to the gym. I don't really like. I'm gonna put on some gym clothes and just go. And I was really self conscious about the whole thing because I'm in some joggers and a t-shirt to go to this meeting. And in my mind, I'm like, man, I'm really bumming it out. But then I'm like, I've seen people walk out the house in pajamas, bro, like pajama shirts and bonnets and everything. I never leave the house like that unless I'm going to the gym.
No
You know,
bra, no drawers on.
yeah. And I'm like, maybe that's just the expectation now of people out in society. I don't know. Um, I do think that on a level where I think we're on a level where people, on one hand, don't really care how they look, but on the other hand, know that they're constantly being surveilled because there's
Mhm.
a camera everywhere now, and that camera footage. I think one of the big things that's probably going to be coming up is where does this camera footage go and who has access to it after the fact? Because I think we're
I
probably going
think
to start.
I think Edward Snowden
Yeah,
kind of alluded to that.
yeah. We have all these private contractors install these cameras in these cities and whatnot to watch people essentially and surveil people. And so it's only a matter of time before a city camera feed somebody buys access to one of them, and you get a chance to watch people trip and fall and do all that other stuff out in public
No,
that
no, no.
people.
See. The problem is, my guy, you're thinking too linear. We need
Mhm.
to abstract this.
Okay.
So you're talking about cameras being put on the outside,
Uh-huh.
right? Where they catching people everywhere, right? What about your rings?
I just talked about that. I
How
talked
many
about that
people
before you
got
came
ring
on.
camera in your house?
Yeah.
So, and think about it. You cannot delete ring videos. They don't delete.
No, they get stored. I had a little dude
Like
try to sell me one of
everywhere.
them damn things. I had a little dude come to my house and try to sell me one. It's like, I'm not putting a camera on my door, my friend. I don't care. He's like, well, you get a chance to see who's coming, who's at your door. I can go to the window and do the same thing. But what if you're not home? Well, if I'm not home, they can ring the doorbell and then I'm not there and then they can go. I said, the only way I'm putting this camera on my door is if it's wired to the little server that I have in my basement. And I keep all the footage myself where it never
Yeah.
touches your third party server. And he couldn't promise that. And I'm like, this ain't gonna work because the other side is there's legalities to it. So let's say your ring camera, let's say your ring camera captures somebody's car getting stolen or some crime or something. Um, when you sign off on that ring camera, there's a little thing in the paperwork that says police can you're basically saying law enforcement can access your camera feed whenever they want to. And there've been
Now, How,
cases
how
where
would how would they do that then?
without a warrant, or they have a warrant, they can access it. And then there are cases where law enforcement have come and confiscated people's ring and doorbell cameras, and then they never get them back, or they keep them for years and years and years, and they have to go buy a new one because to let people go through the entire criminal court process, it's submitted as evidence. And so there's a lot of weird legalities with this surveillance technology that you put on your door.
Hmm.
You could be like, well, I don't want you to use my footage. Well, the contract says you do. So either you can lose access to the
Hmm.
network, or we're going to take it, or they just get a warrant and just take your camera that you paid for. It's yours. It's your thing. I think that adds a layer of heaviness to it. I feel like even the Ring doorbell footage I've seen. Have you seen the one with the this one's crazy. On TikTok, this lady has this thing called the worst day of my life, right? And so it all starts out with she is in a robe, holding like a chihuahua or some little one of them little tiny dogs, ringing the doorbell so that her husband will pick up his phone, and then he picks up the phone and is like, call the police, we've been robbed, and all this other stuff. She's standing outside with her dog. And so she starts telling the story. And instantly my BS detector went off like, oh, this is generated for social media. So long story short, this lady was in a bath, taking a bath. She had put her kids down for bed. And these are like little kids, like infant and toddler age, right?
Hmm.
She had locked the bathroom door. She says she heard somebody banging on the door. First, she heard somebody banging on the door, trying to break in. She thought it was her husband. She has her phone. She calls him, or she has her phone and looks and sees he's still at work. So now she's like, "Oh, burglars are breaking into my house." So what she does is she says she doesn't have any clothes on, but she has her robe and stuff on when you see the footage. So at some point she put a robe on. At some point she grabbed the dog. At some point she ran past the children's room outside, left the kids in the house with the burglars to ring the doorbell because she said she didn't have her phone, which she had access to in the bathroom. You get where I'm going. Anyway, long story short, she made this entire story about how these home intruders are broken in, these burglars are broken in and everything. Um, and people are like picking it apart like, so you left your children in the house with home invaders to grab the dog? Well, if I would have grabbed the children, then they would have shot at me. So you decided that your kids would be best suited just staying in the house with home invaders while you grab the dog and run outside to ring the doorbell.
Hmm.
And so I'm reading the whole story and I'm like, instantly my BS detectors are going off. And I'm sitting there like, why would somebody subject themselves to this level of scrutiny for this? Either one, it's true and she operates on a different frequency than a lot of other parents I know, because I'm not grabbing the dog and leaving my kids. The dog can fend for him. The dog will be okay. Because we were asking, why'd you grab the dog first? Why didn't you want the dog to run away? But you wanted the burglars to be in the house with your kids? Or what's happening here? And then she said they didn't steal anything. The burglars didn't steal anything. They just came and unplugged all their Alexa devices.
What?
That is the exact response that warrants.
Hmm.
They didn't steal anything. They didn't steal anything. They just took their Alexa devices and unplugged them.
How did they know where they were?
So you have this lady that concocted this story, and either she had the most bizarre home invasion I've ever heard of, or this is all a lie, and she's just trying to get social media attention. I'm leaning towards lie because none of this feels real. But
So, my little cousin, kind of the same thing happened to her.
mhm,
She was upstairs at the house doing something, and she heard the doorbell.
mhm,
Didn't even bother looking, and then she heard some knocking, and she kept thinking that it was her brother, my other little
mhm.
cousin. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, and then she went downstairs, and these dudes were trying to break into the house.
Uh,
She immediately called 911, this and the other, and then they ran off. Um, and so no, that does happen,
oh yeah,
but you know,
but to okay, and that's where I'm going, because the home invasion piece sounds plausible. If you ever been through getting robbed, I have. If you ever been through, there are parts of it that make sense, but then there are parts of it like, oh, this is from a movie. Like this is movie stuff right here. You left your children in the house with home invaders. You had your phone, and then you don't have your phone, and then you say they took your phone, but then they find your phone. They took your phone, but then they left your phone. All this stuff all over the place. And
so something real kind of messed up about
yeah,
that situation.
yeah.
Years ago, I was watching this cop or whatever, and he was saying that statistically speaking, if something like that does happen, he said if you and your kids are in the house, he said you need to run out of the house, go get help. because the likelihood of the intruders hurting your kids very low,
Mm-hmm.
very low. You something different.
Right.
Them very low. So he said, no, run, go get help, and then come back. Or whatever. So I mean, and again, I mean, you can stay in there and squabble up if you need to, or
Yeah.
get domed or whatever. But your kids are still probably going to be alive, statistically speaking, unless it's some type of drug cartel or something. And I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
you know,
Or unless
but I
it's
mean,
unless it's some mythical home invaders that you made up, because people were like, I think she was creeping, and then that's what happened. Because she called her husband to check where he was, and then she's like, he's still 45 minutes away at work, and all of a sudden now she's calling, call the police instead. I don't know, how do you have your phone, not have your phone, have your phone, not have your phone?
man, you
Like,
gotta send me this. I
I'm gonna
love to
send it to you.
watch it.
I'm gonna post the link. I actually will post the link in the comments if I can find it. It'll take a second, but it's the worst day of my life. And she has an entire thread of stuff. And people are asking her, well, here are the answers, and here's where the police dusted and everything. Like, this doesn't seem real, but okay, we'll let you rock. I think back to the topic, I do think that the seriousness ends up becoming like this defense mechanism where you are on guard when you're guarded most of the time out in public. And it's not guarded against anything real. It's guarded against things that you don't actually see or feel, whereas somebody else has a camera on you, um, or whatever. And people stay serious so that they can feel prepared at all times, and it puts you on high alert. Um, and if you've lived in situations where there was environmental violence, you ever survived a shooting or anything like that, it does put you at a heightened state of awareness when you're out in public. Um,
Mm,
Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a healthy place to live all the time either, you know? And so that's where that line gets drawn. Let me jump around on here. The piece I wanted to get to was because Fearless and I've talked about I've talked about hustle culture before. That entire grind set, get up and grind. You can't have anything nice in your life until you achieve X, Y, and Z. And you're gonna have to go, what was it? You have to put your head down and grind. And some days you won't be able to show up for your friend's wedding or your kid's softball game and all this other stuff while you're going out and getting it and all the other stuff. I do think that that's permeated the culture in a lot of senses where people who have regular ass jobs where it's not even their own business that they're pushing, think that this is how you're supposed to live.
hmm. What do you mean?
Where I've seen it where they feel like, it's a badge of honor. Where I put in 70 hours a week at a job where they only want me there for, 40 or whatever. Um, where no days off, we don't take any rest. Like, it becomes this thing where, yeah, man, I worked all the way through the weekend, and people are hype about it. And it's like, you hype about it, but is this for your business or is it for somebody else's? Well, it's for somebody else's. So what are you going for?
I mean, right, but I mean, at the same time, though, man, that's kind of like the worker bee mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like their objective is for the love not only of the hive but of the queen.
Yeah.
Their whole objective is that. And if a human or whatever steps up, they will sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the colony. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And there's certain people that are just like that in general. That's what brings them. Uh, that's what brings them merit. That's what brings them belongingness. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like that's what brings them hope and motivation. That's what brings them self fulfillment
Yeah.
to be a part of this particular uh, cog in the wheel. And I mean, and for some people that works for them,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, for you, it does not work for you.
But
For myself, but again, though, it all depends on what you're doing,
and so I'm saying that
right?
because that's who I was. I did that. I lived that. Um, you know, missing birthdays to be present for this company, you know,
Yeah.
because, my presence was, well, it's the way that they put it was, um, you're you're modeling the ethic, and you're living the model and all this other stuff. And they would get you to sacrifice huge chunks of your interpersonal time and intermesh them with events for the organization. And you would actually get dinged for not giving up your free time to do stuff. Does that make sense? They call it living the mission. And that's how they said, does he live the mission? Does she live the mission? Do their actions reflect the mission? And I did that for so long, and then I look back and see all the birthday parties I missed, and all the weddings that I missed, and all the other stuff. And what did I get out of it? What did I have to show for it? Well, roughly in the same spot. Um, Titles have changed a couple of different times. Um, but I'm roughly in the same spot, and I reached the goal that I was grinding towards and making, had centered, organized my entire life around. And I got there, and it was empty. You reach the top,
Mm.
and there's nothing there, and there's nothing else to motivate you, because your entire thing was a climb to the top. It was a journey of it. Um, and so I lived that high achiever lifestyle. And for me, for a lot of people, they find something else. For me, I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm done with this.
Right.
I'm never doing this again. And that turned me off of it. For other people, like, they find a new challenge. For me, I had accomplished everything I had set out to accomplish. And for me, it was time to move on, to try entrepreneurship or try something else. And
Okay.
so I think um it's one thing if this is like you're responsible for your own income, right? Like, you don't or you're grinding because your effort reflects on your paycheck, or it reflects in your career progression, right? I
Hmm.
see a lot of people putting in this kind of work and time for no reason whatsoever, aside from internal motivation of being able to say they accomplish it. But then when you talk to them, they're miserable about it. Like, I've seen
Right.
that balance. Does that make sense? Like, it's one thing if you're getting something emotionally or even materially from it, but I've seen people put in that layer of self-seriousness and ethic and grind set stuff, and they don't get anything out of it. They don't get anything emotionally out of it. They don't get anything materially out of it. It's just another
Right.
thing that they do. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's something I've seen, I experienced it, I lived it, and I think that hustle culture thing. Um, if you're hustling towards a goal, that's something. It doesn't have to be money. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But if you're hustling towards a goal, it's something. But a lot of times, the hustle just becomes a hustle for the sake of the hustle.
Mm. Yep. I mean, but again, though, man, there's some people that that's their that's how they grind, though, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you know
guess.
what I'm saying? Like that's just how they get down in general.
Yeah, and I guess that's what my question is. Is like, I don't mind people doing it. Everybody lives their own life, but I think for me, the question is, what are you doing this for? Like, if it's making you miserable and you hate it, why are you still doing it?
Right.
And it's not because you have to, because a lot of times, if it's something you don't have to do, you just feel obligated to do it. Who are you obligated to? Who are you carrying all this for? And why turn your life? Why live the life of this monk if that's not what you're driven to want to do? If that's what you want to do, and that's the life you want to live, that's fine. But I've met so many people that are out there grinding, and they feel like they're on a hamster wheel, and it's like, so can you advance your career? No, that's not now. I've kind of reached the top of my ladder. Well, do you get more money? Well, I get incremental raises. It's like 5% or 3% every year, which matches inflation. So, nah. Do you even like it? Not really. What are you doing? What are you doing all this for? you know?
Right.
So, and I know it for a lot of people, it's just survival. But I think that's where you take some of that and say, okay, I have to do this because there are days where I've done this, where I had a job that sucked. I'm like, I have to do this. I got to find something that makes this engaging or entertaining for me on some level, so I can go in there and do it to the best of my ability, and then put it away when I get done. I see people that just have given up on that side, even given up on that. Like, I'm not even going to
Mm.
try to enjoy this in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to endure it and then not do anything else to change the other aspects of it. I don't know.
Right.
But uh, the thing is, I think the biggest piece of the hustle culture thing is every skill has to become some kind of income that you can make, and
Mm.
every setback ends a lesson, and every quiet moment has to be wasted time. Every moment where you're just not doing anything, you're wasting time. Sleep when you're dead, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
you know and for me, I sleep when I'm tired. you know
I got you.
I think the thing is, it's the joyless ambition. Maybe that's the entire
Mm.
point of it,
Joy. Yeah, I like that.
where the ambition
Get
isn't
behind that.
where the ambition doesn't produce anything but more negative feelings. And so that's
Right,
that
so what
grindset
are
stuff.
you what negative feelings do you think that comes with?
I think that's where you start seeing people. I'm trying to find the word for it. um where they feel a little bit slightly jealous of other people out there pursuing the life that they want to live. um you know a lot of that must be nice kind of stuff comes from that. um I'm trying to remember the word for it, and it's escaping me right now. But it's kind of this weird envy that you end up getting, um, where you actually hold people, you hold it against them when you see somebody actually kind of living life on their own terms, or saying, the job wasn't serving me, so I quit and found something else. Must be
Mhm.
nice, you know. Um, I don't know. I've just seen it manifest in this lingering bitterness that people have about everything,
Hmm.
where you're just bitter all the time, and you log on to social media, and maybe that's where the YouTube trolls come from. That's where the Facebook trolls come from, where it's just people, all they do, you go to their feed and it's just nothing but negative reviews and negative stuff, and saying nasty things to people that you'll never meet and stuff like that. Maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know. But I feel like that it ends up becoming a byproduct of that joyless ambition, where it's just this lingering, incessant bitterness and hostility at everything. I think it seeps into, even sometimes I think it seeps into how you end up raising your kids. You know, I could see it affecting the way you raise your kids. Um, where you have that lingering bitterness, and you end up almost programming happiness out of them, where they can't dream or aspire to do something. You end up crushing that out of them by saying, you need to get realistic about your career options and blah blah blah.
Oh wow.
um you can't take this major in college because you're never going to make any money doing this. um you can't pursue this hobby because it's just a waste of time, as opposed to something that keeps you going on a daily basis. That's my get I'll get off my soapbox, but that's just my take on what happens when people are like that.
Right. No, so okay, so like listening to what you're saying or whatever, I mean I think that that joyless ambition,
Hmm.
um I forgot, I don't know if it was in my sociology or philosophy class, but that's kind of one of the things that we were talking about was this this idea of what success is.
Hmm.
And like when people talk about like having the proverbial American dream, right? The American dream is an ideal that was sold
Hmm.
to a certain amount of people or to a certain people,
Yeah.
right? So when they talk about the house and the 2.5 kids with the white picket fence, this and the other, they were selling that idea to a certain group of people, right? That they
Mhm.
knew that they were going to be helping out. So, and then our community, our culture being isolated and kept away from the fruits and the labor of this American dream for the most part, started purchasing um, materialistic possessions in order to make ourselves feel better about not having this over here that we actually wanted,
Mhm.
right? So that white picket fence, that house, safety, security, belongingness, all that stuff, they didn't get it, right?
Mhm.
So what do? You dream about having all these different things, and then during the what 60s and 70s, what did they start doing? All these manufacturing companies where my grandfather was able to raise four kids, buy a house, buy a boat, motorcycle. He bought all kinds of stuff, houses,
Mhm.
with just his one paycheck, right?
Right.
One paycheck, stay in the same house. You can't do that now.
Mm-mm.
I mean, not working a manufacturing job, and now Kellogg's is out.
Yeah.
You know what
And
I'm
where you
saying? Vickers is out. ConAgra gone. So we create these these moments
mm,
where people start getting desperate,
yeah.
and desperation, that's what leads to that, as you call that, joyous ambition,
Mhm.
right? We're like, all right, well, I would love to have X, Y, Z, and whatever, right? I still have hopes and dreams or whatever for
Mhm.
certain things, but it's not that I want to have something
Right.
because I already got everything I want, right? Now
Mhm.
to achieve something, that's different.
Right.
And that's what we work towards, to achieve this particular thing. Now, if we get it, great. If we don't, that's okay too,
Yeah.
right? Because it was the the bill. It was the thrill of the ride,
The hunt.
the chase, the adventure of going on that journey for that,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't need to have a college degree. I don't need it, right? Having a not having a college degree has not served me one way or the other,
Mhm.
right? Not a person has ever asked me, do I? Matter of fact, people have asked me, how many degrees do you have?
Mhm.
What did you go to school for? I would always be like, I never have. I never did. Like, how do you know so much? Because I love to read. So why didn't you go to school? I didn't want to,
Mm.
right? And I was just talking to one of my really good friends. She's been a licensed therapist for I think 30, 40 years. And we were just talking, and she's like, "Hey, how's school going?" Fine. I'm like, I'm at a 4.0 grade average at GPA at this point. Just finished up my summer classes, so we're done with that. And she's like, it's pretty hard for people to go to school at a later age. You know what I'm saying? Especially 20 some years out of from being out of school. And I'm like, yeah, but you got to remember, I sit and read stuff for fun for hours.
Right.
So doing homework, that's nothing to me. Like nothing. Writing long ass papers, nothing. But I'm happier now that I decided to go to school now than I did then.
Yeah. Where it
You
felt like
know?
it like it was obligation. That's how
Yes.
I came up where school was presented as
Yes.
when I was growing, when I was in college, school is not, it wasn't presented as an optional thing. It was, this is what you're going to go do,
Yeah.
regardless of whether it resonates with you. And I think the piece where I lost interest in it the first time around, because I went back to school after I started working to finish out my degree. But the part where I lost interest, like I made it all the way to my senior year. Like I was like a class or two away from graduating when I said this, I don't want to do this anymore because I don't know what I'm doing this for. And so I had
Mhm.
gone through the full sociology, journalism thing. And so I had all the coursework down. I was a couple of electives short um, of graduating. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the thing that demotivated me the most was um, we had, I all the entire time I was in college, I was working in college radio. Like, and that's what I loved to do. That was the thing that got me out of bed in the morning. I was going to the radio station, doing my show, and school was kind of a byproduct of that. Um,
Mhm.
and having the people, the adults in my life basically say, yeah, the radio is not, I mean, you're never going to get a job doing that.
Hmm.
You need to focus on the studies and not on the radio stuff because radio is never going to pan out. Hindsight being 2020, um, had I stuck with the radio thing, you know, that turned into that, like we were internet radio. That turned into podcasting. That is a multi-hundred-billion-dollar industry in and of itself. Um, and so hindsight being 2020, my instinct was right when I was like 19 years old. 19, 20 years old, getting ready, getting close to graduation and stuff uh, from college. My instinct was right, and they were wrong. But when I lost the thing that was the motivating factor to keep me in school, where I started listening to them like, well, this thing isn't, if the thing I love isn't really important, then why am I doing it? And I didn't have the maturity to say, you guys are wrong, and this is what I'm going to pursue. Because had I done it, I would have continued out, got the degree in journalism, and moved on.
Mhm.
But instead, I quit with a couple of electives shy of it. And I think what happened was letting that joy rob me. But I want to go back to what you were talking about with the American dream, because it does go back into the series that we've been doing about the collapse of the American narrative.
Mhm.
And so we have to be very clear about what we're talking about. There was one segment of society that was like legally restricted from participating in all the other stuff, all the other
Yes.
aspects of the American dream. Like we weren't allowed to get bank loans. In some cases, we were unbanked until the banks realized we're losing a lot of money by not banking them. And so we were literally restricted housing covenants, even even segregated colleges where we couldn't, where the elders, we couldn't use GI loans. Um, my grandfather couldn't get into unions, and so he had to take jobs at packing houses. You know, and so all these things that materially keep people from accessing the American dream of having the house for a while, your starter home, and then you move out to the suburbs and everything, we were literally restricted from it. And then by the time we were allowed to access it, it was a lot harder to get that stuff. The houses were more expensive, way more expensive. They weren't in shot, they weren't in arm's reach of somebody just working your regular job. And you had to make do. We talked about the susu and the informal lending and stuff that happened within migrant communities, but it also happened within Black communities because we were unbanked and we weren't allowed to be in banks. Um, you read a history, you read books about the Depression. One of the one of the things that a lot of people were mad at Black folks for was because we had money.
Mhm.
When the banks crashed, we had money, we had
Yeah.
cash. You want to know why? Because we weren't allowed to put our cash in the bank. So when the banks crashed, we had our money on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And we had the informal lending systems that worked for our community so that you can get houses and things along those lines. That went away when we started banking. But I'm saying all that to say this. Um, that created that entire joyless ambition. Because it used to be, I'm working hard, put my kids through school, we get the
Mhm.
nice house. The joy comes from being able of providing, right? But now you remove people's ability to even provide on a basic level through 8 or 10 hour work days. All you're doing is you're doing enough to pay whatever bills you have lingering out there. and it's never enough traction to actually move forward on anything.
Right.
And I think, it goes back to the generational thing. I'm doing a live stream tonight talking about um, how Gen X and millennials are kind of segregated. And so when we talk about what a millennial experience is or what a Gen X experience is, it's useless to Black Gen Xers. You know what
What
I'm
do you mean?
saying? The encapsulation of this is the John Hughes movie, where all of them, where they say, well, if you're a Gen Xer, John Hughes movies were everything. They were
You
pretty,
mean
pretty,
like the Breakfast Club and
yeah, pretty and
stuff like
Pink and
that?
Breakfast Club. We Black people watched them, but
But we couldn't really relate to that.
we didn't relate to them. We relate to
Yeah.
them more than what was the one Spike Lee did? Not Higher Learning, or was it Higher Learning? No, it wasn't Higher Learning.
He didn't do that.
He didn't do Higher
That was
Learning. That was
John
John
Singleton.
Singleton. But Higher Learning is one. But I'm talking about the one where they had the frats and everything.
School Days.
School Days, right? School Days spoke more to me. Watching It's a Different World on after the Cosby Show did more for my growing
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
and was the stuff I identified with, and not necessarily the white kids I went to school with. That did more. And so saying that this is, Breakfast Club and all that, that's Gen X stuff. Nirvana is the band of Gen X. For Black folks, I know black folks that listen to Nirvana. That wasn't the end all be all for them. It wasn't the end all be all for us. And so
Funny
that's
enough,
what
I didn't start listening to them until like my mid 40s. You know what I mean? Like literally within like the last couple years.
yeah.
Like listening to Nirvana, like their first album, not until like probably last year or so.
Yeah. Hey Rachel, thanks for jumping on. Yeah.
You,
Uh
Rachel?
and so a lot of that stuff that is considered signpost moments for Gen X is really signpost moments for white Gen X, right? I remember very clearly growing up in Omaha where we could not watch Boys in the Hood because no movie theater would carry it. I think it was Indian Hills that finally carried Boys in the Hood. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, off of 72nd and
Yeah,
off of Dodge. Yeah,
right.
buddy.
And it was a
Because
big
they were
deal.
the only one.
It was a big deal to see Boys in the Hood, and all the thing was, they're going to be shooting at Boys in the Hood and all this other stuff. And literally living in Omaha, there were movies like they would informally censor black movies and ban black movies in Omaha informally because theaters wouldn't carry them because they didn't want us to come see them. Do the Right Thing was another one where they're banning Do the Right Thing because they're afraid that we were going to have an uprising behind Do the Right Thing. Like, it's crazy work growing up in that generation. And so I think that bleeds into the conversation that we're having about black baby boomers versus what white baby boomers experienced. Black baby boomers grew up during segregation. So all the things that we attribute toward baby boomers can't narrowly be attributed or can't be equally attributed to the experiences that black baby boomers have because they were in segregation. You know what I'm saying? I think that entire thing where you talked about with your grandpa, I think that does lead to that joyless ambition, the pursuit of the pursuit just for the pursuit, because you're not really gaining any traction on it. The only people that are benefiting from it are the people that you're working for, because they got a loyal, hard worker who is fine with not getting anything in return.
Okay.
Oh, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where you just have this loyal, hard worker, they're busting their ass every single day, and they expect nothing in return. And that's never really been like it historically. We were talking about post-war, post World War II America. I don't understand. I guess I know that's the ideal for the company because those are the employees that turn out the most, right? Those are the ones that produce the most. And then they require the least resources to be maintained. You don't have to give them good benefits. You don't have to give them good pay. They're just happy to be there.
Right.
I don't know. So anyway, I went far astray. Go ahead.
when I worked at Airline Plastic, man, there were people there that, man, they loved being there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, loved it. Like, oh my God, like this is like everything. And I'm like, dude, you know how many times I thought about going to the bathroom and killing myself? Like, oh my God, dude's coming to work happy. Like, man, I love being here. I'm like, ugh.
The thing
Like
is,
every
man,
time I went in, ugh.
the thing is, so I talked about that organization I was at. Here's the crazy part. The part I hated about the organization was the hierarchy side of things. I actually loved running my shelter. I loved it to the point where it's actually ruining other aspects of my life
Hmm.
because I was pouring so much of myself into it.
Okay.
You know, damaging relationships internally, missing out on a lot of time with my kids, missing out on a lot of time with my mom and her remaining in her last remaining years and everything. It was I loved all the aspects of helping the kids in the shelter and providing them a safe space. I loved all aspects of it. The piece I didn't like was dealing with all the other politics and other bullshit that you had to deal with as middle management at an organization such as that.
Right.
And then eventually, as you start moving up the ladder, your job starts becoming disproportionately more of dealing with the politics and communicating up and down the ladder and less of serving the people that you're there to serve.
Hmm.
And that's when I really started like, oh God, I hate this.
Yeah.
What am I going for now? Well, you're just going so that you can call your own shots and have your own title. So you don't have to listen to the people that are giving you orders right now. you know, and that ended up becoming in and of itself. And then ended up becoming, all right, welcome back. It ended up becoming, I'm here just as to stick it to them because they try to keep me from getting here. Does that
Because they
make
try
sense?
to keep you from what?
They try to keep me from getting here. I'm here to prove to them that I can be
Oh,
in this
okay.
state. And that's where it becomes really negative because it's like, I'm here to just stick it in your, shove it down your throat that I'm in here and you try to keep me from this seat. And now what am I really here for? I'm here for vengeance.
They're here for revenge.
And that ends up coloring the entire negative experience. So when you're at the plastic company, you were like, there are people who loved it, and then you're just like, God, I hate this so much. I don't want to be here. That's what it was when I was working with the state, man. Like, God, there are
Hmm.
people that loved it, and I'm like, I hate this so much. I hate this so much. I hate it. I don't know how you guys like doing this. You're traveling. You're in an airplane, traveling to see kids. You know, 18 days out in the month. And you come back and you never have enough time to catch up on all the work, and then you're getting written up for things that you didn't do because you were in Boston somewhere for no reason. I don't understand how you love this. And they're in it for something else. I'm like, I hate this so much. I just want to work with kids. I just want to keep these probation kids out of trouble.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
such an
I can't say that I've actually except for airline, there were a few jobs that I've had that just didn't work for me
mhm.
or whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think I'm good now though.
All right, it's such an unproductive feeling to deal with politics instead of doing actual work, right? And I think that's kind of where you go, like what they call it, communication overhead, where as you start moving up the ladder, almost 100% of your job becomes communication and politics,
Hmm.
where and everything else is overhead. All the other stuff you have to do is just overhead that either gets done or doesn't get done, depending on when you have the time for it. And it is an unproductive feeling. And so, Rachel, Liberty, have you guys ever had that job where it's just joyless ambition? The only reason you're doing it is just because it's there to do, and you're not really happy to be there. There's nothing in it for you except for a paycheck. Have you ever been in that mode? I know we've all had. Every adult has kind of lived in there.
For sure.
All right, I took a job at Baker's just to do flowers and not be part of management. Yeah.
Okay. Isn't that what you do, Rachel? You do the stuff with the flowers?
hmm Yep.
Okay.
Rachel is the rock star florist. I've known Rachel for years. Liberty. Fortunately, not. I have friends that have that exact job. How did you avoid it? Maybe that's the question. How did you avoid having
I
that?
think Liberty Switcher has its own job,
Yeah,
runs its own company though.
yeah,
If I yep, see,
yeah. And that's the
yeah,
path
I remember.
I took when I exited the workforce. Was I'm gonna just if I'm gonna be miserable, I'll be miserable on my own terms, and it turned into something that was fun. The manager was actually scared that I would take her job from her. Isn't that crazy to work
Yes,
under?
yes, yeah. And then like I think we were talking about that before, where people, I don't know, I think it was in sociology. We're talking about people being overqualified, and overqualified basically means that you you can take my job.
Hmm.
That's what overqualified means. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, well, you're not, but they'll hire you if you're underqualified.
Yeah.
But if you're overqualified, nah, you're good.
So
No,
I ran into that twice.
for sure.
One on the lower level, and then one as the you know top of the chain in the management, and it was weird each time. I had one where it was my first management gig, and the way they brought me in was kind of shady. Hindsight, I look back on it. I think I was brought in to be this lady's replacement, but she was on leave. And so when they brought me in and did the hiring process, they said, okay, this shelter is to do what you like with it because you have all the expertise in managing kids that are on, have basically juvenile felons and stuff. You have the expertise in managing this population of children. Okay, cool. And so they said, design it the way you want to. So they brought me in. They had all the demo work, construction. We built classrooms. We built all that other stuff, did the entire build out. And then she comes back from leave and she looks around and she's like, what happened to my program that I had before? Because I
Hmm.
think they were thinking she wasn't going to come back. So she
How
comes
long was
back.
she on leave for?
This was probably a good 4 to 5 months.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
I'm sitting there. I had worked on getting my program up and running for 3 months. They bring her in, and instantly I am the focus of all of her rage.
I'm sure it is.
She's mad at me because she thinks that I'm coming in, and I'm sitting there like, I had no idea of any of this stuff. They told me that I could have my own program. Now I got to share this with you. Okay, we'll find a way to coexist. We didn't. And so one one day they put me in the office and say, that lady that hates your guts, that we set you up where she's just gonna hate your guts for when no matter what you do. Well, we decided that she's gonna be your supervisor now.
Oh wow.
I said, she can't be my supervisor, bro. Like, that's not going to happen. Well, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. So she ended up becoming my supervisor. And then I got a taste of her toxic management style about why she couldn't keep staff because she pulled me in her office one day and said, yes, it was a nonprofit. It was a
Oh
nonprofit.
wow.
She pulled me in and basically said, one of my staff, he had just gotten there a couple weeks ago. And so he's still learning this population of kids. And so she pulled me in. She's like, well, some days you just got to come on and tell somebody they suck until they quit. I said, I may not know a lot about management, but that's not my management style. It may be yours, and I can see it. And
Hmm.
instantly I'm like, okay, this isn't going to, that's where I'm like, this looks like it's not going to work out. Now, as much as I loved my kids, I love my staff, I love my shelter, I love my program, I loved all aspects of this thing, to the point where I was putting in hours I didn't need to put in just to be here to make sure this thing functioned. It instantly became an untenable situation.
Hmm.
And so I had to say, am I going to save my mental health? Or am I going to kind of force them to promote me to something else? And so that's what I did. Because I kept copious notes. And I'm like, all this stuff could get you fired. All this stuff could be a federal lawsuit really easily for me. And I presented it with them like, here are everything I have that y'all fucked up and I kept you out of. I kept you out of trouble with the state here, 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 and here. I kept you out of lawsuits here, 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 and here. I made sure the staff were trained in this aspect when you guys didn't do X, Y, and Z, and I made sure they were in compliance with everything.
Hmm.
Either give me a promotion or you're gonna see what happens. And so I said, I'm gonna take this job over here, and you guys can have your program, and that's what happened.
Hmm.
Now I've been on the other end of it where I was the supervisor, and I had staff that when we were on board new staff, they did what my mom used to call the old nurses, where the old nurses would basically bully the young nurses into giving them their shifts. And then they would take power of the entire unit by, well, if you piss me off, I'll just take the day off and you won't have work. Because the younger staff gave me all their shifts, but now I'm just going to call off sick. So now you have to fill in the gaps of 2 employees instead of 1.
Hmm.
And so that's what I dealt with there too.
Oh wow.
So yeah. When I first came back from Texas, I took over the manager at Russ's Supermarket in Lincoln the month before Valentine's. And so 2 ladies, I didn't like taking orders from someone young and it didn't take.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they'll set you up too. They'll set you up nasty. I ended up getting money back from a class action suit for Albertsons because they made people do work off the clock.
Oh nice. Albertsons, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Me and my wife were just talking about Albertsons chicken. Their deli was elite, bro. Back in the days, Albertsons deli was their deli was elite, man. I miss it to this day. But yeah, I think a lot of times when people get into these jobs, I think now we're kind of in this world where people have jobs that they don't really care. I mean, I think that's why you're starting to see the degradation of quality, because people don't really care about their jobs because they know that I can be replaced at any time. So depending on what job you're in.
I mean, and for the most part, you will be replaced.
Right. If I used to tell my staff, if I died tomorrow, they'll have somebody in this seat within a day or 2.
Right. And my aunt just sent me. She sent me a picture of the driverless taxi in Las Vegas, because that's where she lives. And I told her, I'm like, and she was talking about how they get into wrecks all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they do, but this is the future. She said, no, it's not. This is now. I said, but that's my point. Those cars will eventually be normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the better they get, eventually they're going to edge people out. Elon Musk was even saying years ago, one day there's going to be a time where cars don't even have steering wheels in them. There will come a time with that. And I can't wait.
Hopefully, for me, I'm off the road by now and sat down somewhere and not having to travel anywhere, because that sounds like a nightmare scenario for me. I do not trust autonomous cars. I don't trust them. I do not trust them saying I am. I do not trust them to take me here or there. I do not trust them to take me anywhere. But I know it's coming. Yes. I know it's coming. And so now I have to deal with a teenager crashing into me, but now I got to deal with an Autobot crashing into me, and I don't want a Transformer crashing into me.
So here's the thing. The reason why I would say I would rather that than the other is because a manless car crashing into you is going to have video of everything.
Yeah.
Somebody else is hitting you in a Regal. You just got hit in a Regal.
It's like we don't milkman. That is true. We've taken it and put it at the store, and so now instead of having fresh milk delivered to our doorsteps, we have to go get milk. Go get it. But I guess my thing is, I understand technology and stuff like that.
Hey, you're sounding pixelated. No.
All right.
Yeah, we can't see you either.
All right, give me a second here.
You're frozen.
All right, give me a second. At noon, my internet goes crazy. That's just what happens no matter what I'm doing.
At noon?
Around noon. It feels like that's when everybody decides to hop online for whatever.
Okay.
And so, can you hear me now? Okay, RDT.
Yeah, R2D2, yeah.
But yeah, for me with this entire driverless car thing, I'm just like, I understand the technology and stuff, the optical sensors. They've just now gotten to the point where they've started accounting for darker skinned individuals in the algorithms. Like just now, like in the last 8 years or so. Like just now. And so I want to give it a little bit more time, because a lot of these, a lot of these, um, AI generated AI where they can do facial recognition stuff. It's not optimized for anybody but white folks because that's typically who's been writing the code.
Mm.
And so that's why for a long time they're having a difficult time with these driverless cars when they're testing them and doing the simulations. They would just run over dark skinned people because they didn't recognize them. They would think that they were just shadows cast by a tree somewhere
Oh
and not
wow.
as people. And a lot of that has to do with how algorithms are written because algorithms are still subject to the bias of people who write them.
Yeah.
And so in order to make an algorithm bias free, you have to have, this is about to be a dirty word. You have to have diversity, equity, and inclusion to make sure that everybody in the room who's writing the algorithm is represented equally.
Right.
And people don't like that. They're like, well, the most qualified. Well, just because you're somebody says, hey, let's intentionally get some black coders in here doesn't mean that you're unqualified. It means that we need people in here that are darker skinned so we can test out this algorithm.
Or that your
Lunchtime.
parameters run one way, so we need the other parameters, somebody else to see things from other parameters
Yeah.
that you can't see.
Right.
And that's literally all it is. And again, that's not a dirty word. These
It's not.
fuckers are making it bad where people are scared to use it. Don't be scared.
Yeah. It's a marketing term. It's just like
That's it.
it's a marketing thing where they've made DEI the catch-all boogeyman, where DEI just means that we have DEI means we have veterans programs. DEI means that we have a ramp for people who are in a wheelchair, or you have to use a walker to get around. You know,
Yeah, just like being woke basically means if I see bullshit, I call bullshit.
yeah.
That's all it is. There's nothing more to that.
DEI
That's it.
DEI means that we have to get pedal extenders for my daughter when she starts driving because she physically can't reach the pedals.
Yeah, she's gonna have to because that's dangerous
Yeah,
with people being so close up to the wheel.
yeah.
If that airbag go off, you're done.
And so that's kind of what we're talking about. And so, um, long story short, that's why I don't trust autonomous vehicles because the technology is not the technology lagging behind, it's the software that supports the technologies that's lagging behind.
Okay.
And so that's why I don't necessarily trust the software. But like I said, I mean, it was a big deal when Google dropped their tensor chip and said this tensor chip can detect skin tones and color correct for skin tones, and people were mad about it. It's like, no, that's the thing with camera technology. For a long time, camera technology, the color correction on camera technology did not account for people with darker skin. And so when you did color correction to that darker skin, it was a hassle because your white balance got thrown off and all kinds of other stuff got thrown off because the camera internally did not account for it. The film stock didn't account for people with darker skin. And so you had to do a bunch of tweaking and other things on the background to make it work. And so this is not new. And just because it's uncomfortable and it's about race doesn't mean that it's made up. So anyway, long story short, I've gotten far afield from what I was really talking about. So I think what I am going to probably put a pin in this because I've been going for almost 90 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, we just talked about why everything feels heavy constantly in performance. I guess the question is, how do you escape all this stuff? How do you escape always feeling like you have to be on and present and connected and all this other stuff? How do you get out of it? Because I'm more connected. I'm way, in terms of internet and social media and stuff, I'm way more connected than your average person. And so
like, what do you mean that? How do you opt out? Like, what do you mean by that?
So when I say this, one of the things I talked about was we all have these phones, right? And this phone is a straight line into bad news. Bad news, if something bad happens, is going to come across your phone first.
Okay.
And you're out there living your life, doing your thing, and all of a sudden, 1,000 people just got killed in a blah 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 in Bangladesh somewhere, and now you're like, damn, that sucks, man. You know what I'm saying? Bad news can reach you no matter where you are. You're connected into this. and sometimes you can train your algorithm to show you nothing but bad news. How do you feel like, how do you get away from this feeling of always being connected and always feeling surveilled and always having to put on a performance when you're out in public?
Switch your focus.
Okay.
So I think there's a couple things. I think switching our focus and focusing on other things, or whatever. A lot of it is basically just reframing what's actually happening in front of you. And again, what I mean by that is, again, I was just robbed of all our shit not even 4 days ago. Robbed, like robbed.
Rob.
That sucks,
Yeah,
right? Sucks. But what can I do about it?
that's true. So what do you have a control over?
That's
That's
it. Like
often.
if you can control it, then control it. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I look at life in three different ways, right? So things that I can control,
Mm-hmm.
things I have no control over, and things that I contribute to.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm sitting there doom scrolling, I'm contributing to this.
Yeah.
I can't change anything here. So I'm just focus on this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But your algorithm is based on what you're
You like.
consistently watching.
Mm-hmm. That's the point I wanted to
It
get to.
gives you what you watch. It gives you what you focus on. I don't focus on negative. I focus on like comedy or philosophical stuff or sociological type stuff or religion. Those are the things that I like talking about. So that's what my algorithm gives me. So
Uh,
when y'all talking about my algorithm sends me some more weird shit, what is it about you that the algorithm's like, he's gonna like this?
mhm. Now you see me talk about this because I've talked about it on my feed before, and I mentioned that, and I got pushback for that. Well, they just serve it like, but all you do is look up fight videos, bro, and you're wondering why all you see is fight videos, but all you do is sit and watch and like and share fight videos. So you're gonna
Yeah.
see fight. All you do is watch content where black men and black women are arguing with each other about relationships, and then you wonder why you have such a dim view of relationships because this is all your feed is.
Or you
Uh,
sit around watching fart videos and
yeah.
cats and shit or
Now
whatever. I mean, yeah.
the one I can't. Okay, so Rachel, you run off to your greenhouse and shut off your notifications. I got two things for that. So one thing that is intrusive to my algorithm that I really don't want, and I've blocked it every single time, is Dr. Pimple Popper. I don't want her, Dr. Pimple
Yeah, I
Popper.
can't watch that shit.
If you are
I cannot
watching,
watch that.
if you are watching this, Dr. Pimple Popper, please stop. I don't know who you've made a pact with or if you sacrifice somebody to keep putting your videos into my feed. I do not want to see them. I block them whenever they come across. I do not want to watch extraction videos. Not now, not, and this is for my friends too. Do not send me extraction videos. Not now, not ever.
What is
I
an
don't,
extraction video?
where somebody's pulling a blackhead out of somebody's face or popping pimples. I don't want to see
Yeah.
that shit. I never ever want to see that. But somehow it keeps ending up in my feed where Facebook's like, hey, you might like this very disgusting thing that we're going to show them. Enjoy. Um, and so for me, an example I have is my birthday is on September 11th. My birthday
Ugh.
is 9/11. Yeah. And so every year I make an effort to not turn on the news, not even turn on television.
I
And
wouldn't.
that's how I do it. And that has given that birthday, it doesn't feel as weighty as it used to for the last, however many years. Um, one thing that's weird is,
25.
yeah, one thing that's weird is I escape into work. If I'm grinding away on something, I'm building a website or editing a video, I don't see all that stuff. And so it allows me to escape and shut my brain off. Mine
Mhm.
is greenhouse
Yeah.
garden, florist stuff, French, anti-Trump.
And anti-Trump. Mine is this. Mine is just sitting down reading books.
Mhm.
That's my thing.
You know, I
I
think
love to read.
the secret is everybody has to have their thing that's not connected. Some people's entire lives are social media. Everything they do, even their business is built around it. Um, And I'm a person that teaches business owners how to get on social media, right?
Mm.
You would think I would be like, you gotta live and breathe this shit, bro. No, I don't. I don't think you need to do that at all.
Mm.
Sometimes I think you need to post what you're going to post and then not even worry about how people are going to respond to it. Some days I think you just need to sit down and schedule all your posts so they go out and then you never see how people respond to them.
Okay.
Some days I think it's just shutting your phone off, finding something else to do. But I've seen people completely crash out over, in community, like we're all in the, you're in this Facebook community group where it's just people that live in your community. And people will just go to war with each other. If you've ever been in Omaha Food Lovers Uncensored, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm.
It can turn into a blood sport in there. It is so
Really?
crazy about food. People go to war about this shit. And it's like, so you're all uniting over your passion being foodies. But now it's seeping over until it's like you're acting like an unhinged individual about it. To the point where your diatribes and people getting blocked and people's addresses getting posted, all kinds of crazy stuff because you disagreed what this person thought about this pizza in this restaurant that you're not going to go to. And it's taking it too seriously. Sometimes we need to do things the old-fashioned way. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. What are some recent books that you're reading that you like? You name 3 self-help books that have big influences on you. What are those 3? I got a couple. Hold on one second, and then I'm gonna get down. Fearless, you probably can take this one, but I also have some. Liberty. Or the You Park Like an Asshole group. I've seen that one too. It turns in contentious, bro. It's almost like Jerry Springer on your Facebook feed. And that's why that's why I try not to engage too much into it, because at some point it ends up becoming all drama. Nextdoor, the Nextdoor app, I've heard it. The Nextdoor people are really, really toxic or hyper toxic. But some people live for that stuff. All right, jump back. What are some recent books that you reading that you like? 3 self-help books that have big influences on you. What are those 3?
So I think my favorite the Courage to Be Disliked is my all-time favorite. I've read that book probably 3-4 times, and I don't read books more than once. That one I did because it was so good. Another one that's more like a series. It's not really for self-help, but I think it's not a self-help book, but it's in that genre. The Ishmael books by Daniel Quinn. And there's 3 of them. The first one, second one wasn't really that good, but the third one was really good. The end sucked, but it was truly amazing. And hold on. This one here, The Culture Code. And this one, I don't know if you can see. I'll try to show you guys. Hold on. So some of that shit's in red. Or whatever. Like this is like one of my favorite books, whatever. And this one I've actually read twice.
Okay.
Might even read it again because it was so good. And this is an ingenious way to understand why people around the world live and buy as they do. So why do people live a certain way? Why do people buy certain things or whatever? And it kind of talks about this culture that we have kind of like around the world. So they talk about in certain parts of Africa, France, Germany, America. Um, they really. I've talked to you about this before, right? I think I've even
Mhm.
read some past stuff about it.
Yep.
Um,
We
Another
got
thing too, the American culture for money is proof. This is one of the things they talk about in page 124. It says that we rely on it to show us that we are good, that we have true value in the world. It says that we can prove what we've accomplished only by making as much money as possible. So when people look at Warren Buffett, when they look at Bill Gates, when they look at Elon Musk and all these other people, it is the proof of money.
mhm.
And it's kind of like we were talking about before, MTV Cribs. Um, uh, this proof, this identity that I
Mhm.
can see,
Yep.
right? That's what that stuff is, and it talks about how other people see us as well. But the second book that I was talking about is Ishmael. You want to pull that up, Brian?
Um, yep.
No, Daniel Quinn. Yeah,
That one.
Daniel Quinn. Yes, this is the culture code by yes. Get this one. The first one was um The Courage to Be Disliked. That book was again, I
Mhm.
read it 3, 4 times. This one and the second one was um the Ishmael books. I would get the first one and the last one. Let me see.
I'm pulling it up, Fearless.
Okay.
Uh, Ishmael series. Got too many tabs open right now. All right, so I will just post. Let me pull them up here.
Yep. So the first one is Ishmael. The second one is the story of B. I didn't really like. I wouldn't read that one. And then the last one is My Ishmael. So get Ishmael and My Ishmael. Amazing books.
I'm trying to find a good image to put on the screen, Fearless. I can't find one that's big enough here. I got it though. So I'll put it up on the thing, and then I will kind of share what my three are. I'm gonna open up image, a new tab, drag this
So
over.
yeah, and again, we're talking about some. There's also another one that I have. So up above me is religion and philosophy. Up here, um, it changed anything?
That is so
Changed
small.
anything? What?
This image is so small. But yeah, this is the
Ugh.
book. Sorry, guys, it's tiny. I'm trying to find a bigger. It's weird not to be able to find a bigger version of this. I may have to open up Amazon to do it. So anyway,
The subtle art of not giving a fuck was pretty good, but I think the second one was way better. It's called Everything Is Fucked.
mhm.
That one to me is way. The first one was good, but that second one was way better. Oh my god.
So is this the book you're talking about? The Ishmael, the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And again, the second one, the story of B, I didn't like it. Um, so I would get Ishmael and then My Ishmael.
Okay. So for me, the one I would start out with, one of the most important self help books I read was The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge, and it talks about systems theory, and how systems intertwine with each other, and that's where I always get the analogy of standing on the shore of a lake, casting stones into the water, skipping stones across the water, and there's a difference between just skipping stones and then being aware of where the ripples intersect with another,
Right.
and how one ripple spawns other ripples and things along those lines. He kind of leans into understanding how those ripples interface with one another. And so it's a really good book. It got me thinking higher level. Specifically when I got my first like director level job, it allowed me to elevate and see the forest and the trees at the same time, and operate operate locally but have impact globally in terms of what my shelter was.
Hmm.
Um, and also helped me kind of break down to, I believe it was one of the state senators or one of the representatives, basically kind of explaining like, you guys will create these laws and everything, and I know that you guys are doing them because you think it's benefiting the kids and things along those lines. But what you're doing is you're actually harming the providers, because if you're going to come in here and say my shelter can't operate because the washer and dryer don't have more than 3 feet of clearance between them, that's $80,000 that I have to spend to tear out my walls and my shelter and stuff. And in that and then that means I got to knock out a room. I got to get rid of one of my rooms to allow for the expanded washer and dryer space. It doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't benefit anybody. And these are limitations that you're putting on us. And at the end of the day, it keeps us from serving the kids that you're begging us to take care of. You're not watching where the ripples crash into each other. You see this one end of it, and we're seeing all the other ends of it, all the other effects of it. So the fifth discipline is probably one of the most, that's the book I always go back to in terms of self-help, because it just gets you thinking about how things interface with one another, by Peter Senge. Um, Save the Cat writes a novel. Save the Cat is a writing process that was that, forgot what the dude's name was. He was a Hollywood screenwriter, and he kind of basically broke down the formula of storytelling. And so they've had different versions of it, but this one is Save the Cat writes a novel by Jessica Brody. And it's really interesting. For me, it's fascinating to listen to the different frameworks of different genres of books and how they're constructed, specifically fiction, and the different things at play, but I've gone down the rabbit hole of Save the Cat. There's Save the Cat writes a horror novel, and the different conventions of different types of horror or supernatural books and things along those lines. I'm fascinated by that because it kind of allows you to reverse engineer storytelling. But yeah, the Save the Cat books, specifically Save the Cat writes a novel, was really kind of a signature book for me, and I still go back to that one. Honorable mention will probably be Stephen King on writing. He also had The Secret Window tucked away somewhere in that book, but On Writing is probably one of the best books about the craft of writing that you're going to read. And I know Stephen King is considered pulp and schlocky and everything, but even like literary critics say that this is probably a good starting point if you want to start writing, is reading how he perceives the art. That third one is tough. You're saying self-help.
Right.
I would say 10x is better than 2x because it
Yeah.
encompasses so many other books that I've read. It references a lot of other materials that I've read, and you could read that book and not feel like you have to take a deep dive on those other books, if that makes sense. So 10x is better than 2x is one that I can strongly recommend, to the point I've read it multiple times, and it references other stuff, and other frameworks that I've encountered. But the concept of 10x is better than the 2x is it's easier to have a 10x goal than it is to have a 2x goal.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more productive to have a 10x goal because 10x forces you to change aspects of who you are. 2x allows you to pretty much stay the same and get middling outcomes for things that you apply.
This is one of the ones that I just finished reading. How to Rule the World by Theo Baker.
Okay.
And basically, it was about a young man who went to Stanford University, and he was talking about these groups within groups within groups. So you have your Skull and Bones and all of your other different groups, but yeah, it was crazy. He's also the guy who took down um, the president of Stanford University as well. So yeah, he that was actually a pretty good book. I gave it a 3.9 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was all right. Then before that, when I read Michael Conley, The Proving Ground, which is a Lincoln lawyer book.
Mm-hmm.
I like law books. Um, The Interior Chinatown, which you might actually like this one. It's a novel about a guy who, um, and I think it's on Hulu
Okay.
as um, a show. It's called Interior Chinatown, and it's about this guy who's on this fake Law and Order show, but he's like in the background or whatever. So like everything he does is like background esque, and so this is about like basically his life in the background
Got
of
it.
this fake show.
Okay.
Um, Before
Um,
that, I read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, which was actually really good, and I actually watched the movie, which was actually pretty good too. Before that, I read William Johnstone, The Last Ride of the Dirty Creek Gang. It's a western. So again, man, I'm all over the place when it comes to books. Uh, Liberty Twitcher, what about you?
mhm.
What books have you read? And matter of fact, anybody, what's your three favorite books that you've read? Whether it's uh, whether it's business, whether it's self help, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, historical fiction. What's your three favorite books?
So
I
I
mean,
want to
I don't
go.
know about y'all. Like me, I read everything.
So the one that I was thinking of that I didn't mention, by Christopher Shabriz and Daniel Simons, was The Invisible Gorilla. That one
Oh,
is
okay.
I love The Invisible Gorilla. I've come back to that a lot. It just talks about the illusion of attention. And so it
Mm,
goes into how, how and why the methods by, like eyewitness testimony has been debunked for years, right? And
what
it
is
talks
your book
about
called?
the invisible gorilla. Um, and basically it's talking about how people can be so focused on one thing they can easily overlook a bunch of other things. And so how attention is really just how attention is really can be an illusion in and of itself, because we only can pay attention to things that we're aware of. And sometimes we mistake one for the other. We think that because we're aware of something, we're paying attention to all things. But a lot of times, by locking in on this one thing, you're missing five other things. That and then the other two books are going to be You Are Not So Smart and Be Less Dumb. And those are both cognitive science books about cognitive science, entry level stuff about cognitive science. Really, really fascinating stuff. And it's broken down in a way that's really digestible. I've listened to those books individually, each about 7 or 8 times throughout the years, if not more. Um, those are ones I always go back to when I'm in between books to listen to. So you're not so smart, be less dumb, and the invisible gorilla. All of those are about how our brain works and how our attention works and things along those lines.
Funny enough, man, I have this book. It says I bought it last year.
What, the invisible gorilla?
Hmm.
I think we talked about it last year.
Did I buy it? I'm still on. I don't know if I read it though. Did I read it?
I don't think so because we never discussed it. I would be down to sit down and discuss it on one of the shows. I would.
Economics was really good too.
Yep.
Both of those.
Okay, you got an answer from Liberty here, Fearless.
Oh, nice. Give it to me.
So right now I'm reading Thomas Sowell's A Man of Letters. He's alive and in his 90s. It's fascinating to see how he grew up and went through college and before he became a professor and who he is today. And 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Berkman. So, okay. What was that one about? Give us a quick summary on that, or why it resonated with you. And then I got a couple of meetings I got to take, Fearless. So I got to wrap up here in a few.
Yeah, that is. I need to. I'm gonna buy it again, and I'll just probably give it to somebody else.
Okay.
If I read it already, pretty sure I did though.
Yeah. If you get a chance to take a look and see if anything jogs your memory, but I'd be down to sit down and discuss it again.
4,000 Weeks.
Mm-hmm. Talks about how we're distracted by daily to-do lists and life's passing us by and how we're able to break free from that. That sounds like a book I need to be reading, especially with my workload as it has been over the last 4 or 5 weeks. I've kind of plunged myself into the work I'm doing and I'm getting the results. I'm reaping the benefits, but it's easy to lose track of life in between. And so I'm looking forward for a
Yeah, I'm
break.
looking at that.
Gives real historical context. All right, I'll take a look at it. I'm interested to see how it juxtaposes against James Baldwin stuff too, and some of what James Baldwin is talking about. So anyway, I got to get running, guys. I do appreciate y'all tuning in. I think next week we could sit down and kind of discuss some of the books and stuff and have some deeper level conversations about that stuff. But we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Trial and error. Peace.
Yeah, trial and error. Deuces.